This is the Christian Authors Podcast, and I'm your host, Victory. I connect you to real people who have real stories and are willing to share their real life experiences of becoming an author. Thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode. I'm so glad to have you join us today.
Welcome once again to the Christian Authors Podcast. My name is Victory and I remain your host. Today I have an exciting author here with us by the name W.C Aldridge, the author of the book My Soul's Journey. This is a poetry book, and while I was going through it, I love what I read and how much he has been able to coin some sensitive thing and infuse Christianity and our walk with Jesus inside them. So who is our guest today? W.C Aldridge uses snapshots of her childhood and a keen sense of faith to weave her experiences and memories through her poetry. She holds a Bachelor of Arts in English and a MEd in Curriculum Technology, and worked as a high school teacher and tutor before beginning a freelance writing career in the education field. Since branching out into creative writing, she has written for magazines, created materials for book publishers, and contributed to life stories through ghostwriting. Aldridge currently writes her own column for post-gospel profile of gospel artists with a focus on the inspiration behind their music. Aldridge placed second in the 2003 Nubian Poets Black History Month contest. She was also chosen as a finalist for the 2017 Palm Beach Poetry Festival and African American Fellowship, and is a 2018 Act 1 Hollywood Writing Program graduate. She lives in Chicago with her husband. Aldridge, it is such an honor to have you join us today on this show. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me, and it is an honor to be on your show as well, Victory.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let us just dive straight on into the question. So while I was reading the book, I was wondering what made you to go into poetry? Because yes, most of all Christian authors I've interviewed on this show, like when we started from the first season, even until now, most of them are basically into the fiction or the non-fiction world. What makes you to decide that you want to go into poetry? And how has the whole journey been for you?
To start, poetry has always been a part of my life. I started writing poetry at a very young age as a youth. And so I've always, having that foundation, I have always felt that it's appropriate that my first book be poetry, because that's what I focused on. And my first poem that truly, I believe, ignited in my life was a poem about Jesus Christ.
Okay.
So, and I had just became a Christian at that time. I didn't grow up a Christian. I became a Christian in my teens, and I was a Muslim before, so I grew up as a Muslim. So, poetry, I believe, was ignited in me during the time that I gave my life to Christ. So I don't think it ever left. It's always been there. It's always been a part of my life, and I've been writing poetry since. And it's been an inspiration to me for other writing, for other forms of writing. It's a platform that has been a catalyst for other forms of writing. So poetry has been this, blow up, this aspirational form of writing for me throughout my life. Now, as a journey, some of the things I've been through in my life, poetry was that cathartic, therapeutic type of writing that helped me get through. So when I took a look back at some of the years, they were prolific. It was during those times that I'd gone through something. I would write more poetry during those times. Being able to compile that and share it with the world, I believe God didn't want me to sit on it. So I felt a sense of peace, hoping that it would permeate the globe, permeate humanity, and that's how God presented to me, that this poetry will permeate the globe and humanity, and be able to actually hopefully be healed from it, be blessed by it, be affected by it, and permeated by it.
From what you said, your form of poetry started from your relationship with Jesus. Am I right? So it was at the time when you gave your life to Christ that the gift was indwells within you, and you found out that this is what you're meant to do. So do you ever feel that you can thrive well in the field of fiction aside from poetry? Have you ever had those thoughts, like maybe one day I should write a fiction book?
Yes. Actually, that's a great segue, because that's my next big project. Delving into the genre of fiction. So yes, I think it's a great gateway. You know, poetry allows you to tap into your imagination. And so you're dealing with both the reality of whatever you're going through in life, and also you're dealing with your imagination. And fiction touches upon both. You're building characters that reflect both reality and imagination. And so yes, fiction is the next step. And I'm working on a book of fiction as we speak.
And you will surely enjoy traveling the world of fiction. Fiction is quite interesting and beautiful, I can say from experience. I was reading, I think the first chapter of your book, you were talking about forgiveness not being a byword. And I said I was going to read a few lines of a poem that struck deep with me. And that's the second point. You said a gift, that's the title. It said, being able to forgive is a serious gift from God. I say gift because it seems such a daunting task until God gives you the ability to do so by faith. You also, the next one I would love to read is, I choose to forgive, even when the anger is prevalent, even when the hurt and offense is fresh in mind and heart, even when the offender is unrepentant and excuse-driven, even when there is no rhyme or reason behind the actions, you still choose to forgive. I want to ask you, in one of your poems, you were saying forgiveness is a gift from God. Was there a situation in your life that made you coin out this poem? Maybe something in your life that you found so hard to forgive? And how has your relationship with God helped you to forgive that person or that situation in your life? Or was there a reason behind the first chapter of your book, you putting out forgiveness as the first thing in your soul journey? Did you have to start from the step of forgiveness before you become who you are currently now?
Again, such a great compilation of questions. So I purposely, as you noted, deliberately made forgiveness my first chapter. And I did so because that is something I'm still dealing with. It's something that I'm still growing in through God. And people may relate to that. But I did so because it's something that I'm still going through with, but at the same time, I also know that God can get you through it. So while you were, asking your question, a couple of memories came forward that were, profound during the times that they occurred. And I remember there was a time in my life that I was just very upset. I was young at the time, and with the things that were happening around me, and I was reacting. And I could tell I was reacting. And I said to God, I can't do all this by myself. I can't do it. I need your help to be able to get through this. And He did. He got me through it. And I can personally say that it's so. Sometimes it's unexplainable that to see the healing that someone goes through inside, as opposed to, say, someone gets healed from a third-degree burns. God has healed them from third-degree burns, or some sort of physical healing. But I always point out, especially when I'm talking to someone or to myself, how impactful and how important and how beautiful, which I noted that you said that word a lot, the healing of God inside taking place. How beautiful that is, and how impactful to your life that is, because it truly changes and it makes a difference. So there were two instances in my life where He completely took away the pain. I can remember it, but I can remember it like a movie. And it's challenging to explain it to somebody. And that is the reason why I believe I'm able to write this poetry, is because He's gotten me through it.
So we grow in forgiveness. It's not just that we won't meet people that won't offend us, but we just grow in it because forgiveness is truly a gift from God.
Yes.
Oh man, wow, it's truly a gift from God. So how did you, aside from the first poem, which the first few poems I've read, how were you able to draw inspirations from for your poems? Did your background have to do with some of the things you've written? You are a Black person like I am. I don't know if maybe your color has influenced the writing of your book? Aside from your relationship with God, which we know is pivotal, what influenced your poems? And what was the motive as you were writing them? What do you feel like? What were you expecting readers as they read that they should be able to glean from your poems and apply to their life?
I'm hoping that when people read the poems, that they get an education, that they learn about God, they learn about my culture as a Black American. They learn that life lessons and life happenings can be different and similar all at the same time. That's one of my poems, saying difference. And I'm hoping that they just are blessed by it, touched by it, and gain something from it personal, because not everybody sees things the same way, but that they take it in and let it permeate them, and they're overall blessed by it. Now, when it comes to my cultural references within the book, that was deliberate, that was purposefully done. So, and it's really to show that God, in his spiritual sense, is very pragmatic, very spiritual, and very much a part of your life. So, writing is a spiritual thing. I remember the comic Chris Rock, the comedian, saying that, and I totally agree. Writing is a spiritual thing, and so when God, tapped into that writing gift that he gave me, he tapped into that sense of letting it be known that God is in all aspects of our lives, whatever it may be, whether it has to do with culture, whether it has to do with the things, your career, whether it has to do with your economics, how you live, what you do. Every aspect of your life, God is a part of. He says, "You're my friend." He says, He loves you with everlasting love. He said, "Cast all your cares on me, for I care for you." So every part of your life is affected by God. So that is what I want people to also learn from the book, from the Portugal thing. These are all things that pertain to God as well, even though it may be talking about injustices which take place in American society, pertaining to Black Americans like myself. So when dealing with these things, I believe God is in all aspects of them, dealing with justice, dealing with racism, dealing with hope, dealing with faith, and your life happiness, your state of mind, your mental health, and your physical. I would let you prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers. So when I talk about all these things, so people can learn from it and get from it that God is in all aspects of these life happenings, these life lessons, these life itself. And hopefully they'll understand that connection, and also the humanness that's connected to God, and the spiritual aspect that's connected to God. It's all correlated. And also I want to touch on the fact that, and I totally agree with you, that God's forgiveness is a gift. I just wanted to put that out there as well, because that is what got me through. His gift of forgiveness is what got me through, because if I couldn't have that gift of forgiveness, I want to be able to get through my life. And I want to also show that in other aspects of my life as well.
That's very beautiful. God is actually involved in every area of our life. Let me ask that, has there been time, maybe as you were writing this book, maybe you were writing about a particular poem? Let's talk about the chance to forgive. Maybe that's the title of the poem, and you've written the first few lines and you don't know what will follow after. Like you are totally stuck. Has there been moments in your life like that as you were writing this book? And what did you do to get yourself back to know what to write next so that you don't go out of sync? Or what did you do at that moment?
Okay. Well, to tell you the truth, Victory, to be candid, that is rare. When a poem comes to me, I write my poems in extended metaphors. So it's always two things, usually, sometimes it may be something different, but usually it's in comparison to each other. So usually when I get a poem, it's a download, because I have missed out on a poem because I didn't have something near me to write it down. I'm hoping God brings it back to me. But it's a rarity when that happens. I feel like I'm birthing something, like I'm going through the travail of having a baby. So what I do is I step away from it and I give God a chance to download it. And then what happens is then pieces come to me. They come in pieces. And then I can see it completely come together. And there was a couple of poems, the poem To Be and To Do. That poem, I started it, a couple of years before I completed it. And then it just came to me because right before I was to do this book, and I really believe God wanted it in this book. And so just before, I wanted to put or needed to put one more poem in there. It just came to me, and the full download completed. But it wasn't at first. It didn't at first work the way it normally does. And sometimes that happens, and that's okay. And I'm okay with that. What I do is I like to go with the flow. I like to be fluid. So I won't take away from the character of the poem of what's happening. I don't want to force it. And if I feel I'm forcing it, I step away from it, Victory, and then I come back to it when I feel that birthing, in comparison, that metaphor of birth, and then I bear it, and then I get the fruit of it, and then you have it, the poem on paper.
Okay, for anybody that wants to go into the world of poetry, especially Christian poems, what would be your advice for them? Like, is this a niche that is, how will I say, is this a niche that pays? Like, when we talk about money, yes, we want to do something that will actually be able to feed us, and aside from the passion. But can you say that, can anybody who is starting out in the world of writing and thinking that maybe poems are simple to write, and there are rules that guide writing of poems that you feel like Christian poets should know that they are doing very wrongly?
Well, I look at poetry as a very personal endeavor. I always have, because there are formalities in poetry that are established, traditional ones or conventional ones that people can follow. But with me, I don't normally follow those conventions. And when I do, it has to be, like I told you, it has to naturally come to me, it has to be organic. So I don't know if someone could write a poem wrongly, unless it's not, it doesn't come from a genuine place, I believe, or, the poem is forced, or someone's not putting the work into it. And they're really just writing something, roses are red, violets are blue, I am yours, you are my too, maybe, just kind of playing around. But if someone's writing a poem and they're working at it and they're establishing it, and it has a message, and there's some kind of organization to it. I mean, a full organization. You can see it. You can see the message. I think of, the poem in any way, innovative or otherwise, a haiku or free verse. Someone is able to establish poetry in, quote unquote, correct or accurate way. In terms of the financial piece, poetry can be touch and go. Yeah. So, if you're writing poetry just economically, you might want to also supplement your poetry writing with other forms of writing. I have hope that poetry will be a niche that people notice more. I'm hoping that this book establishes that, as well as other forms, so that people can benefit financially from it. And I'm still hoping and believing and thanking God for that myself. But poetry itself, in comparison to other genres, may not be as lucrative, overall, when you make that comparison. But hopefully that'll change, and that's what I'm hoping.
Hopefully it will change. How were you able to deal with criticisms and other isms? Yeah, I think there was a poem like you mentioned the other isms. So how were you able to deal with criticisms and the other isms in your life?
Well, you know what? I really like that you brought that up. So, and that's an inspirational and aspirational. That's a shout out to writers of inspiration. But to deal with those isms, man, Victory, that hasn't always been the easiest thing. It can be challenging.
Yeah,
I think anyone will tell you, but I'll speak for myself, that those isms and criticisms can feel quite personal.
Yeah.
But you keep doing what you're doing, because it's going to be, it's like Jeremiah, it's like fire shut up in your bones. You're going to write whether you're paid or not. Now, you want to be paid, so I'm going to make sure I add that. But when you write, you continue. And there's somebody out there, there's an audience, especially God. Nobody's going to write the way you write, because it's coming from your perspective. It's coming from your spiritual walk, your natural walk, your soulish walk, everything in between, that mind, soul, body, and spirit correlation and connection between each other symbiotically, in the form of victory, or in the form of me, W.C, is not ever going to produce the same thing. We're unique. That's why God made it. So if you're writing, present it from your perspective. Keep doing it. Keep challenging yourself. Keep educating yourself. Keep doing what it takes to put the pressure on that gift. And those isms may not be as powerful as they are in the beginning, because I remember when I first suffered my first form of rejection when I was 8, and I was delivering newspapers and I was recruiting people, and I said, Mom, I can't take this. I can't take the no's. And she's like, don't worry about it. They're not rejecting you. Don't take it personally. Oh, that affected my life. So it insulated me from a lot of understanding that rejection is not always personal, and it may feel personal. Of course, it's usually going to feel personal, but to understand, to keep going, to push past that with God. Of course, I've spent a lot of time with God pushing past that, but and keep going, because it's going to flourish. You're going to get better. You're going to master if you keep going and get past those isms, and you'll just get better and better, and an audience will come.
Yeah, and
someone will be affected.
Yes,
in a good way.
I accept that an audience will come. So anybody listening to this podcast and you are struggling with the isms, just keep going, an audience will come. I'm very sure you are very happy with the publishing of your book. This is your first book, right?
Yes, I'm excited about it. Yes.
So how can people, how can they get your book? Because I'm talking from a personal experience. I've read the book, and I'm very sure that if you read it, if you are listening to this episode right now, go and buy this book, because I really love the way you outline the points and every other thing. How can they get your book, and how can they connect with you as we wrap up this episode?
Get the book at amadourbooks.com. So that's the actual publisher. They can also get it on various online platforms, Barnes and Nobles, Amazon, Bookshop, Booktopia, I believe. So there's various online platforms, so you can go straight to the publisher. If anybody wanted to, get it for a Bible study, or get it for a reading group, they can go through my publisher as well, and be able to work that out with a great deal with my publisher. So Amador Books, and then various platforms like Barnes and Noble, Amazon.
Thank you so much. I will also do well to add the links to purchasing a book on the episode notes. So make sure you check the episode notes. If you are listening, just check the episode notes, either on the podcast or on the website that you are on the website, if you are navigating through the website. I love using the word happy, beautiful, and delighted. All right. So have you joined me today. So thank you so much. And I wish you the very best in your authorship journey. Thank you so much for being a part of the Christian Authors Podcast.
Oh, and thank you as well, Victory. I appreciate it.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please do well to like, share, and also subscribe on the platform you are listening to now. It's going to give me such great joy to know that you have enjoyed listening to the conversation with the guest author. Till another time, I remain your host, Victory. For further inquiries, you can send me an email at thechristianauthorspodcast@gmail.com. Also, you can visit my website at podcast.dachiva.com. Every relevant link will be included in the description. Thank you so much for tuning in and have a lovely day. Bye.